Welcome to FluteChats.com, a flute podcast with host Viviana Guzman.
My name is Viviana Guzman, and I'm here at the National Flute Association Convention 2011. And this morning I have as a special guest, Jim Walker. Welcome.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
Thank you for joining me. So I want to know, start from the beginning. Tell us a little bit about your roots, how you started playing the flute.
I did start on the piano. You knew something. Started piano when I was 6. My mom was a teacher. My dad was a band director, jazz, clarinet, sax player, who also taught high school math. So I had a lot of music around the house. He was like a little bit of a hero in kind of that tri-state area, doing all the Benny Goodman, Artie Shaw kinds of things. So I grew up with that in my head and started on the flute when I was 10, the 4th grade. He was my private teacher, and devastating thing happened like that year. He got a band directing job in the rival high school. And it was like, oh my gosh, I thought my world was going to collapse. And 3 years later, we lost our band director, so I transferred to the rival school. So I lived in one town, played in the band and on the basketball team in the other. But I grew up being, a flute-oriented kid who got into the doubles, the sax, the clarinet. My dad used to take me on dance jobs, so I would fake trying to play harmonies to a lot of the standards. Wasn't really a good improviser, but, those were good developmental years. Decided to go to college and get a music education degree so I could work. It was a good call, but I decided towards the end I would not be a good public school high school teacher. I didn't seem to have the patience that my dad did. And that's kind of at the age of 21, 22, I decided, I got the degree, but I decided to start pursuing the more classical flute. I also had decided at the age of 19 and 20 that I wasn't ever going to be a good improviser. So I kind of put that to bed. And I'd say from the age of 20 till like 32 or 33, just focused on classical, especially orchestral flute. Right. That is the story.
But wait, no, details. What orchestra and your group?
Yeah. Okay, so my first orchestra was actually in college. I was in the Louisville Orchestra as a senior in college there. That was cool. Then I was in the West Point Band for 3 years, which is a really, really fantastic experience. Then I got into the Pittsburgh Symphony and played associate principal flute there for 8 years. And then I went to the Los Angeles Philharmonic, played principal flute there for 7 years. I got that job when I was 33, and that was kind of a fourth midlife crisis where I started confronting my unclosed, unfulfilled chapter of jazz. And so I started practicing improv again. And 3 years into the LA Phil experience, I organized a group called Free Flight, which was kind of a jazz-based, classical jazz-based, really fun quartet. Started in 1980 and still won't die. I mean, I don't really hustle it or pursue it, but it's still the best thing, and we'll probably end up playing at the Flute Convention next year, at least if what I hear is true. And we're doing the Chicago Flute Day in November, so it's still an incredibly fun thing for me to do. But somewhere along the way, as that got to be kind of a popular thing, the orchestra schedule was getting to be a little encumbersome. It was encumbering, and it kind of forced me to face, do I want to do this forever? And so at the age of 40, I left the LA Phil. I had started working in the studios of LA, had been doing soundtracks for television and motion pictures. So I knew I wouldn't starve. I was single at the time. So I had created a low nut so that I could travel and, not necessarily earn a lot of money, which is what a young group has to do. Yeah. So we did that, and lo and behold, fairly early on, the movies kind of started kicking in. And also in that period, I realized I probably needed some kind of job, and the teaching job at USC opened up in the late 80s. So I started teaching there. And, God, that's a long time ago. Now I'm very excited. My 18-year-old son, my 20-year-old daughter will both be on campus at USC with me next year, not studying music. And I also teach at a wonderful school called the Coburn School Conservatory, which is across from Disney Hall in downtown. I have remarkable students at both schools. So mostly teaching, a certain amount of soloing and traveling. But I resigned from the movies and the studio work a year. Yeah, I just retired, walked away 14 months ago.
Wow.
Time to move on, I'd had a great run. And so...
You're constantly reinventing yourself.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Absolutely.
That's admirable.
Well, thank you.
I applaud you. I love that.
Thank you. Get me rolling. I can't stop.
So what's next on the agenda?
I don't know. Something. I mean, the pianist and I who've been working for 30 years together are kind of in dialogue of a reinvention, something. Yeah. But we'll see. Yeah. We'll see. And it could be coming. He's phenomenally creative. We know someone in common, Tam Henderson.
Oh, okay.
Who has even talked to me about us doing something. How about that?
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, that would be cool. But the bottom line is this guy, his creative flow never stops. I'm not particularly creative, and I'm an energetic flute player who loves to do a lot of different things. So he and I have made some recordings nobody has heard about that I was actually listening to a few weeks ago. It's like, boy, there's something going on there. So we'll see what we do with that. At this point, I have a little more time now. My teaching requires a couple of 3 days a week. And the rest of the time, I need to get myself off of the golf course and into the studio and figure out some things.
Oh, cool.
So the reinvention is alive. I don't know where it's going to go.
Yeah. No, I totally hear you. I love it. Awesome. Well, how about some advice for young flutists out there? Words of wisdom.
The word of wisdom for me is don't check your passion at the door and then grab it when you go back out. The most important thing is your drive, and it's got to be fueled by something that you love doing. So that's why reinvention has occurred in my life a lot, because I would get fairly good and competent at something, be well paid, and know that I could continue on that, but I just did not want to become a tired, bitter old man who didn't love going to work. Yeah. So passion is the number one thing. The number two thing, equally important, is your hard work. I'm not like a daily hard worker. I mean, I am a workaholic. Yeah. But in terms of the kind of focus that you need, and sustained focus over, let's say, a 2-day period, over a 2-month period, you have to adjust your dreams according to your work ethic. And I work really hard in concentrated spurts. I mean, the most recent thing is I got a lot of flute ensembles together over the last 3 months for this particular flute convention. And I've done a certain amount of that, but that's an enormous amount of time. And I learned to work faster and faster with it, but I was driven by my passion to do it and not by making a bunch of money. Right. But it was really very rewarding to have. Now I've just finished playing all of the 6 arrangements that I did, and I'm really happy with those. So that was a tiny reinvention, and I'll probably keep that going on the side. Yeah.
Oh, I love it. Fantastic.
Thank you.
Well, tell us about how to contact you, your website.
JimWalkerFlute.com. You can read more than enough information, although there's some updates that are needed. I don't think I've posted any of the movies I played on for the last 3 years, so it's time to get that up to speed. But it's a decent website, and yeah, I'm available. I mean, email me. My website has my email. I teach a lot of students. I teach a lot of students one lesson, students who just want to see what he's all about, and I'm totally good with that.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for joining me this morning. This is Jim Walker reporting from the National Flute Association Convention 2011. Viviana Guzman signing off.